I'm here with Aaron. Aaron, how are you? So Aaron and I are pretty much just going to be talking for a bit, not too long. So Aaron, what have you been up to in the past all year? Sort of
Yeah.
the start of this year, since it is.
Uh, so it's actually surprising that we've nearly gone through the first month.
Yeah, it's almost the end of January. I think I painted one miniature. So
I I think I've painted two models. Both of them have to do with Imperial Assault, and that's about it.
okay, and which ones were they?
Veteran Stormtrooper and I think just a normal Stormtrooper.
Oh yeah.
Uh, just to go over with the original set. I think I've only got a small fraction of stuff left to go.
Okay,
Uh,
so you'll have that done pretty soon.
Pretty much.
Mm. Oh, that's good. Ready to get the expansion boxes and start painting all over again.
Yeah, hopefully I'll get that sometime soon, and then I can work on what's in the new box? Snow Troopers,
A Wampa. A
a
Wampa.
Wampa, Grav Tank, HK6 droids, or whatever they're called. I think it's HK6.
Yeah, something like that. I know the only one I know is HK50,
Oh yeah.
which is,
Uh,
but
as well as getting three new characters: a Mon Calamari sniper. Well, I think he's a sniper. Um, a I think a rebel commander and a medical droid.
yes, and the medical droid's going to be super handy since up until
So
now you've had no
yeah,
real like consistent way of healing the party.
yeah, the first medic character
Mm.
for the rebels to be introduced.
Yeah, so that's exciting. And that's well, I think it's out now, but
Yeah,
no
it's
one's
out
actually.
now.
I
I
don't
just
think
haven't
anyone's got
gotten
it
a
yet.
chance. Yeah, I haven't gotten a chance to get it yet.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
and that's probably because it's been like over a fair few months since I got the original set. So
Oh
I'm
yeah.
expecting it to take another huge amount of time for me to actually get around to painting.
Yep.
Um, the, the second lot. And then there's also the addition of I think it's Twin Sons,
Yep. Twin Suns. That's
which
the
that's been around for ages, but I just haven't gotten around to getting it yet.
yeah. That's the
Um,
Boba Fett one, isn't it? The
yeah, Boba Fett and like I guess Jabba the Hutt type of thing to do with mercenaries and all that.
yeah, the bounty hunter type one.
Yeah, which will add like another bunch of heroes and everything to the group,
Yep.
which then I will have to paint again.
Yeah, I've been slowly working on my Imperial Assault as well. I think I've got about half of it done. I'd started with all the regular guys, thinking you start with all the regular guys and you leave the heroes till last. But I think I'm almost all the way through the Imperial side. So Aaron, have you got any games that you've played recently or that you're looking to play pretty soon?
I'd like to get around to the Infinity RPG, but that's probably going to be a while before that happens because I don't believe it's not meant to be shipped out for a while.
I actually got my first Kickstarter the other day.
Oh yeah.
It was the Alessio Cavatore um, Waterloo board game
Oh,
that he bought out for the 200th anniversary, which was last year in June. So
uh,
yeah, so I got that in the mail. And I got some busts with it, three of them,
oh yeah.
which Dion's going to do up for me since I don't, I'm not good enough to paint something that detailed. So that'll be good. That was the first Kickstarter I've ever done, and I was super happy with it. No
Yeah,
problems whatsoever.
I've been wanting to do Kickstarters. It's just, it seems all the ones that I find interesting, the cheaper lots that you can order go instantly.
Yeah,
And then,
the early bird big bundle ones.
yeah,
Mm.
all the stuff that I want is just,
Too expensive or
yeah, it becomes the more expensive sets.
Because you want to get
So
everything in one go. Like, you don't want to get a Kickstarter and then have to be like, oh, when it comes out, I'll get this. Like, you want to get everything in the Kickstarter. So, actually, one I did actually go in on was for a game I've been looking at for about 3 years now that finally went to Kickstarter.
okay.
It's a, you won't believe it when I say this because it sounds insane. It's the American Civil War, and you basically take you players first-person shooter multiplayer games of just being in a line battle.
Oh yeah.
Mm. So pretty much just doing line battles in the American Civil War in multiplayer.
Huh.
Yeah, so I finally went to Kickstarter, so I jumped on that. Yeah, that should be coming out in like a year or two, and it looks interesting. But that's really the only Kickstarter I've ever done,
Oh
and
yeah.
neither of those were for miniatures games, so I haven't actually experienced those yet. So
Yeah. I I do kind of like some games that Kickstarter people come out with. It's just sometimes you'll find the rare one that's actually really good.
oh, there's some brilliant ones out there. There was Mantic went to Kickstarter for their Kings of War Wave 2, I think.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it was, oh, I don't know what they call it, but it was the second edition of Kings of War. They pretty much used Kickstarter as like a pre-sale thing,
Yeah.
and that went awesome. That was great. I've heard nothing but good stuff about Mantic. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I've been doing. I'm starting to repaint all my French Indian War stuff since, I rushed it when I did it, so I've actually stripped it all and I'm going to repaint it for a game with Scott on the next club meet, which is, I think it's in the first week of February.
I think it's the 30th.
30th. Okay, yep. 30th. Yeah, that would be right, yeah. Because Australia Day is next week.
Yeah.
So yeah, ready for a game of that, and then Force on Force with Mark afterwards.
I don't know because I asked you about it before, but I don't know if you actually saw it in the end. But there was also as we were talking about Deadpool before,
Oh yeah, Deadpool. That's right.
the Australia Day Deadpool commercial.
Yes, Aaron sent me a message this morning saying, "Have you seen the Australia Day Deadpool commercial?" And I went, "No," so I went out and watched it. And it's funny. It's really funny because it's Deadpool.
Suits Deadpool in every way.
Yep. There'll be, you guys can just, you're grown ups. You can just type in Deadpool Australia Day commercial in the YouTube search bar and watch it. It's funny. It's really funny. And Deadpool, of course, comes out on February 14th, on Valentine's Day.
Which is why they've been making all those jokes about come and see this movie. It's a Valentine movie,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't recommend
Yeah. To anyone
going to see it.
Yeah, to anyone who doesn't know what Deadpool is, don't go and see it as a Valentine movie. Because
Considering
you'll get hit. You'll get hit.
its rating is actually rated R.
It's an R18 plus, yep.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if it was R or M something, but
Yeah. Because apparently Marvel don't own the rights to Deadpool. Apparently someone else owns the rights to Deadpool.
yeah, I think he's still meant to be owned by the original creator or something.
Yeah, so basically they couldn't mess with it. So
yeah,
they were able to keep it because there were a lot of people wanting was it 2 versions of the movie or something like that? They wanted one for everyone and one for 18 plus. But
yeah, I think so.
the director had some choice words for them. And I'm not going to say those words because that's the reason an hour and a half of the other one had to be cut down. So
considering the original comics and everything for it would be rated like R pretty much.
Yeah, at least it would invent its own.
Yeah, and then people are coming along and apparently complaining that why is it R18 and not a lower rating? Pretty much, it's really kind of pointless.
I couldn't give 2 craps because I'm 19. I don't give a crap. Oh, sorry. That doesn't really matter to me. I don't really worry about that stuff anymore. Yeah. No swearing. Not allowed to swear.
Oh. game just ended.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, so pretty much just painting along and doing some games and doing
Yeah,
other stuff.
I haven't actually done that much painting in a while. Like I said, the last things I painted were uh, the Imperial Assault things.
Hmm.
Uh,
So is there anything you're looking at getting or that you've had your eye on or that looked cool and popped up?
Excluding obviously the other Imperial Assault sets.
Yep.
Uh, I am, I suppose, one or two of the new Infinity models. So the Airborne Ranger
Yep.
and the what are they called? Desperados.
Oh yeah, yeah. They look really cool.
And the good thing about Infinity that I like is the creators like to sculpt some of their models in the likelinesses of actual people.
Yeah, they do a
Uh,
really good job of that. I think
So,
my favorite Infinity model is the guy with the machine gun on his foot, or it's on a low wall and he's just
oh yeah, yeah,
yeah,
the Moblot.
yeah, that's the one. But yeah, no, I
Um,
know what you mean. A lot of them are really realistically done.
One of the new Desperados for US Ariadne is actually modeled after Clint Eastwood.
Oh really?
Yeah.
And I'll put a picture of them up right now so you guys can see them.
But yeah, he's got revolver and everything.
Well,
So,
speaking of that's pretty cool. Speaking of that sort of stuff, Malifaux, I used to play it, but I don't really. It never really piqued my interest. But there is one model in it that I really like, and it's called Sue. And Sue is pretty much a cowboy with a guitar that's on fire.
hmm,
So that's pretty cool. I like that, and that's getting a new model coming out February, I think. So I might pick that up just to have it because guitars on fire appeal to me.
I remember that there was some other old model that had to do with it. I think that was um, that was yeah, it was meant to do with that as well, and it was essentially, I believe it was an old model, but it was one of the guys standing on top of like a flaming coffin or something.
Yeah, there's a couple of those. They like their fire, which is good.
Yeah, I think it's one specific group that's into it, not so much the others.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, oh, yeah. There's one faction. I think Cam will be screaming at his computer, telling us which we're talking about. So we're going to purposely not mention their name.
yeah, um, but yeah, I don't really know too much about it. I only know like one or two of the models, and then that's about it. So
Yeah, this I only brought it up because of this one that I saw.
yeah,
As I said, I used to play it, but I don't know. It just never really appealed to
um,
me.
we at the club too. We've also had a fair few people doing, which I've even got into Arena Rex.
Oh yes, Arena Rex. Have you actually got a crew for Arena Rex?
Yes, I've got a Legio 13 group.
Legio 13. They're the military guys, aren't they?
They're pretty much the, I suppose they're pretty much Romans.
Yep.
They're actual Romans.
Yep. Because
Um,
13th Legion was Caesar's Legion,
yeah,
which is why they've called it Legio 13, because like the Ultramarines are the 13th Legion, everything's got to be 13th Legion if it's Roman at all. Like there
uh,
were no other legions.
but yeah, I believe out of all of us at the club, I think Dion's the one that's got hugely ahead of everyone else the most models.
Oh yeah, yeah. They look amazing the way that he paints his models up, and
Yeah,
they're
I think
perfect. They're perfect size for the stuff he likes to do,
yeah,
and the way he paints them.
I think one of the ones that he's finished more recently is the Medusa mod.
Yes, they're the giant snake thing.
No, 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 that's not Medusa apparently. I would
Okay.
I would have thought the snake one originally
Hmm.
before entering it that the snake one would have been Medusa, but apparently not. All three of the female titans are the Gorgon sisters.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So I can't remember what the actual other two are, but I just know that the one that looks more human than the other two is
Mm.
Medusa.
Oh, okay. Oh, I
um,
wouldn't have picked that.
yeah, I mean, there's a giant Lamia character, which is Lamia's half human, half snake.
Yep. Yep.
And then there's one that kind of looks like a Indian, like
Shiva, I think it is.
yeah, with the 6 arms.
Yeah, I think it's yeah, because Ganesh, I remember from The Simpsons. Isn't that great? You learn your culture from The Simpsons. Like Ganesh is the elephant head with the multiple arms. Because Homer dresses up as that and runs around trying to. Yeah, no, there's a photo of that coming up on the screen now. I think it's Shiva, which is the one from Indiana Jones. And
Yeah,
again, like that's where you learn your culture is movies. So
yeah.
the one where they're ripping hearts out of human chests. Yeah, that one.
Kalia.
I'm pretty sure that's what that is, but it's not meant to be that, but it is that.
Yeah. Um, well, they're all meant to be like Greek mythology. So,
Yeah, yeah.
um,
And Alexander got a bit of India, so I suppose they can call it Greek.
there's even beasts in it that are actually like from gladiatorial combat. So there's
Yes.
lions. I've got a rhino.
Oh, have you actually got a rhino?
Yes.
Oh, that's the best looking one there is, the rhino.
Then there's even things like the Wendigo,
Oh, yep, yep.
which I'm kind of not really a big fan of the Wendigo model because it doesn't really look like what a Wendigo actually should.
To me, I'm thinking of a Wendigo is the Native American one that makes people just
Yeah, yeah,
unsatiably hungry, and it like
that's
they
what
eat their
I'm
own
thinking of,
flesh.
where they pretty much
You get so hungry and you have to keep eating, and you end up
yeah
eating your own lips off and all that sort of.
they end up turning like pretty much cannibalism,
Yeah,
pretty much cannibalism because
and
they
that
get stuck up in mountains and everything like that.
yeah, and it comes from a story of a man who came in from like being trapped in a cabin all winter, and he said that his family starved to death, but he was really fat, and they found
Yeah,
like 20 or so human corpses in his cabin, and his plea for it was that he'd been possessed,
and
so they
but
hung him. But
the Legio 13, oh not Legio 13, the Arena Rex, um, Wendigo kind of looks like it's just a jumble of different creatures all shoved into one.
okay,
It
no,
has like antlers.
yep,
It has a human face. It has like some part of an animal body, but around about where its spine should be,
mm,
it's kind of actually completely bone
okay.
for some
It's
reason.
sounds like they've just taken it and made their own interpretation of the Wendigo, as
Yeah,
opposed to the actual interpretation of a mythological animal.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
the real one.
supposedly ages ago there was going to be a model that was meant to be an Indian riding a horse,
Oh,
but
okay,
don't believe they actually really went anywhere with it after they did the sculpt.
okay. So
So
there was a plan for it.
yeah, she was meant to. I'm not exactly sure what she was armed with. I think she might have just been armed with a blade, but I thought she might have actually been armed with a rifle, which would have actually been one of the very first like range weapons in
Yeah,
the game.
because there's not a lot of ranged weapons, is there?
No, there's pretty much none unless there's like a special ability of some sort.
Hmm. Well, as you'd expect in a gladiator thing. Yeah, and as we said, the Wendigos are like a North Native American thing. I think it's more like an Iroquois Cherokee thing rather
Yeah,
than an Apache or Sioux or something like that. So they would make sense
yeah, like
to have something
I
like
kind
that.
of want to see because I believe the entire lot of Arena Rex was originally a Kickstarter,
Yes, yes, it was.
um, which I'd like to see in the future if they could actually introduce even more uh, groups into the mix. Like I'd love to see something like Samurai in there.
Oh yeah,
I think that would be amazing to see a Samurai.
yeah, that could be cool. They could do some stuff with that.
Oh god, M3.
I'm waiting for a Bigfoot. I'd like to see a Bigfoot thrown into the arena as one of the animals.
You can get a Wampa and just shove it into the game.
Well, that's what you can do with that thing. I mean, it's got rules for having rhinos and lions and all that sort of stuff, doesn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there's actually. Oh, I'm dead. There are actually like named lions. Like they're all.
Oh, there are actually character ones as well. It's
No,
not just like a generic.
no, all they only have name stuff in Arena
Oh,
13.
yep.
Not Arena 13.
In Arena X. Okay, so
Arena Rex.
I thought it was just like, here's a lion, it's going to come in there and eat your face.
So,
but it's actually a character, is it?
Yeah, they've got Leo the lion.
Oh, wow. How they figure that one out.
And
They must
I'm not
have taken lessons from Games Workshop when they name things.
I'm not even going to attempt pronouncing the rhino's name and everything.
Oh, okay.
But it starts with an A.
Okay, well, I'll put the name up on the screen now. And I don't know what it is, so I'm not even going to try and pronounce it either.
There's not really too much in the way of other animals, I don't think. Oh, there is a scorpion, but that has someone that actually rides it.
Yeah, the giant scorpion thing that I really underestimated the scale of.
Yeah, and then there's also a bull that a character rides as well.
Yeah, which would be like a Taurus thing.
Yeah.
They'd probably call it Taurus. Taurus means bull. So.
Yeah, it's ridden by, I think his name's like Nero or something.
Okay. Nero
I'm not sure.
was the Roman emperor who built the Colosseum, if I'm not mistaken. Scott will correct me. So that's pretty cool that you can have a character called Nero.
But yeah, he's like a gladiator in the fight as well.
Oh, yeah. No, that's cool. I didn't realise that it was... I thought they were just sort of like mercenary characters that you hired, but I didn't realise they were actually...
I mean, you can mix and change the groups.
Oh, sorry, no, I'm with the animals, sorry. I'm not mercenary characters, but I thought they were sort of like just like a...
Yeah,
oh, let's throw a lion into the game.
Animals and Titans can pretty much go with anyone.
Yep.
But when it comes to the groups, you gain bonuses if you have a certain percentage of your combat group that is the same.
Yep.
Like,
so
affiliation.
It rewards you for sort of theming almost.
I've also come to realize in a game against Greg that the Egyptians seem to really like using special abilities. Like, really like using special abilities.
Okay.
Because there's literally one character. They all have pretty much death skills. So once they die, they activate this skill.
Oh, yeah, the sort of like Lich Priest things from fantasy where you didn't want to kill it.
Yeah. And there's actually one character in there that's kind of more of a priest than any of the rest of them.
Yeah.
That if he dies, he triggers everyone's death ability on the board.
Oh, so he's your suicide guy.
Pretty much. But he's also the healer for the unit as well.
Oh, okay.
Which is the weird part.
Which is, yeah, that gives you the predicament there of do you suicide and get that massive boost, or do you stick around and start healing?
Well, the game pretty much came down to, when I was versing Greg, at the very end, a one-on-one fight. We wiped each other's forces out, and it came down to a one-on-one fight, and we were pretty much left with our two characters just attacking each other.
Well, that's another thing that could happen. Like, I assume these death abilities actually do damage, or they can do damage. Or...
they're usually more effects, so they can be things like the game works on fatigue.
Yep.
Once your character becomes exhausted, you can't pretty much do any more actions.
Yeah, sort of like Saga, where you...
So there's one death ability, I believe, that increases your fatigue level by 1.
Okay, so they could really be major.
And you only have a maximum of pretty much 2 fatigue.
Yeah. So you pretty much just lose 50% of your ability.
Yeah.
Like right there. And I assume like actions have fatigues attached to them.
Yeah, so you get a free movement each turn, and then as you do stuff, it costs you more.
Yeah, so there'd be like one fatigue actions, two fatigue actions, stuff like that, or is it all?
It's like you do an attack, it costs you one. If you do an additional movement on top of your free movement, it costs you one. Um, or you can do things like an power attack, which consumes both of them, but you make an attack that you get to re-roll your hits.
Oh, okay, so if someone triggers that death ability and then you get that fatigue marker, you can't do a power attack next turn because you'd be over your two limit.
Yeah.
Okay,
Which once you get to the end, once you get to everyone on your team having a reaching their limit,
yep.
You have to have a clear turn, which essentially forces all your characters to pretty much take a break in the middle of the combat and catch their breath.
Yeah, and then you can get jumped on by the
Yeah, you end up having to deal with pretty much a free turn of being attacked.
Well, that's a really good mechanic. I mean, that'd be cool if you triggered that and then killed the guy. Like,
yeah,
if you really wanted a turn of like if you needed a turn, you could always suicide that the priest.
Although at the time I didn't know what his ability was. I didn't know what half of their abilities were because it was the first time versing the Egyptians.
Yep.
And I killed the priest first.
Yep, bad move.
So he triggered everyone that was still alive's ability.
That would hurt.
So I copped a whole bunch of debuffs and all this type of stuff.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. I haven't looked at it that closely yet. Haven't looked in that in depth on the game, so I'll have to look at it again. Maybe we'll get Dion or Greg or something on for another podcast, and they can talk more about it.
Maybe.
So I think we discussed this last time, but I'm not sure if it was kept in because we did start going a bit off topic. But Flames of War Battlefront bringing out a game called Tanks, and this looks really cool. It's like X-Wing but with tanks, so it's awesome. And that looks like it's coming out pretty soon. Yeah, so Terry's Heroes this year is actually based on Enemy at the Gates, the movie, which is the one with Vasily Zaitsev, which is based on about 7 different snipers all rolled into one guy. And it's the one, if you remember it, it's him having a sniper duel with, was it a German major?
I don't know what rank he was.
I know he was like the head of the sniping school or something, like the best sniper in Germany. Something like that, yeah, and him having a sniper duel with them. And it had the guy from Sons of Anarchy, it had Clay from Sons of Anarchy in it, as Vasily's sort of spotter.
Yeah.
And he gets shot jumping across that gap. Yeah, that's so Terry's basing his tournament off that. I think it's mandatory to take a sniper, so.
Yeah, I think wasn't it that you have to take at least 3 snipers or something?
No, I think it was I think you have to take 1, but you can take up to 3.
I mean, you could take the one that's got the experimental rules for Vasily Zaitsev, because Warlord did release experimental rules for him.
Yes, they did, and they also released rules for Simo Haya, or Simo Hayam, or the White Death, the Finnish one.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And they even think the Majors got rules too. So yeah, I'm not sure if they're going to be allowed in the tournament, but yeah, they're.
Vasily runs around as a one-man team, so.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know if that would actually incur the usual thing for being one-man teams.
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think it would. What's like John Basilone, the Marine, the guy who he became a war hero, went home to plug the war, and then they finally let him go back, and it was Iwo Jima, which was
that was the
brutal.
That was the special model that was standing on top of the dog tags, wasn't it?
Yep, that's the no, that was Captain Winters.
Oh, okay.
No, this is the one that comes with the Pacific book.
Oh,
if you get
okay.
it from Warlord. I think he is basically a one-man MMG team.
Hmm.
Since he's in the show Pacific, he was picking up the MMG and always running with it. And I think the actual real life person did similar things. I don't know too much about him. But yeah, no, Terry's Heroes is coming up again. I think it'll be in May, and I know there's going to be a Japanese guy who's going to show up with 9 sniper teams. So, alright guys, thanks for listening to the podcast. I'm not sure how long it ended up being, but however long it was, thank you for listening to it. If you want to get involved with one of these, send myself a message on Facebook.
Achieved with CryEngine.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Campfire Games' Kickstarter campaign. My name is Second Lieutenant Clark Morningstar of the 7th Illinois Volunteer Infantry. I'm otherwise known in the community as George Creasy, the team's historical advisor. I am but one member of a team who for the last 3 years have been developing a game by the name of War of Rights. Passion for the subject, the game developers, and a few $100s in donations from our wonderful, loyal community have been the only things to keep us going thus far. So what is War of Rights, I hear you ask? Well, the grand vision for our game is to create something as historically authentic as possible, while still achieving a fun, satisfying game experience.
Let's cross that bridge, boys! Come on! Don't stop! Move it! Move! Sarge, there's a rebel line! Firing by volley. Ready! Fire! Form a line, boys! Aim! Fire! Reload! Fire! Southern welcome. Company, on me! Forward! Incoming artillery! Get down!
War of Rights is a first-person shooter made with the power of CryEngine, which currently focuses on the Maryland campaign of 1862. This was the turbulent and bloody time of the American Civil War, where family and friends became foes, each marching to the beat of the drum and fife. You, the player, can play as a young private, foot-slogging his way through the battlefield, as well as anything in the grades up to Major General, where you will be at your headquarters relaying orders to the various units under your command. As mentioned before, we are envisioning as historically accurate a game as possible, so players will march and fight following the Napoleonic tactics still adhered to in the era, and as representatives of any of the units in the Army of the Potomac or Army of Northern Virginia which fought in that campaign. We are also looking to include not only the important infantry, but artillery and cavalry as well, each bringing their own carnage to the battlefield. As you can see, we have done our utmost to make sure that every part of the map is as accurate as possible, with little exception. Furthermore, most every building, from main houses to spring houses, will be enterable. For the moment, the game will feature two main game modes, those being Historical Battle and Skirmishes. Historical Battle will be the main feature of the game, where massive amounts of players will fight as regiments against those on the other side in the entirety of the maps, fighting over every acre of ground that we have painstakingly made to match the period. The second game mode is Skirmishes, where the battlefield has been sectioned down to a small portion, though still quite large, so as to focus the players into engagements like the fighting over Burnside Bridge, or the taking of Fox's Gap, or the back and forth over control of the Maryland Heights. Our game will also feature customization of each player's soldier, though these customizations are more cosmetic than they are beneficial. But this will allow variations to both your character's features, as well as his clothing and accoutrement. But beyond the characters and game comes the models of our weapons and gear, all of which are modeled to look as accurate as possible, which also includes a selection available to you. For instance, we have been asked several times about including the Gatling gun to the game. However, it was not used in the Maryland campaign, let alone much of the war, so you will not be seeing it. However, you will be seeing any of the many artillery and long arms used by the army, such as the Springfields and Enfields, the Colts and Remingtons, the Sharps, the Whitworth, the Ordnance Rifles, or the Napoleons, amongst others. These weapons will also react to the beating you put them through, becoming fouled by continuous use and in turn making it harder to load, and upping the chance of a misfire. Finally, each of our maps are a work in research and development that are years in the making. The Maryland campaign itself would allow us to bring 4 maps out at first for players to fight on, each of which are the largest maps allowed in CryEngine, at 4 kilometers by 4 kilometers, or 2.5 miles by 2.5 miles for those of the more US variety. This does mean that a few of the larger battlefields, like Antietam and South Mountain, that we have had to condense the real-life locations of so as to include the most important parts for the sake of playability. However, all the scenes thus included are still historically authentic, with great care taken to things like furniture, window dressing, even rainspouts. In the future, we have more maps in mind, with the hopes that we can continue our goals of making a fun, while still educational game.
With your help, all of that can become a reality. In the current times, it's hard to find a set of programmers willing to work for free, like the rest of our team has done. But with a successful campaign, we can hire the necessary manpower and ramp up production of uniforms, animations, army branches, and weapons. We hope to get Skirmishes mode, our version of a closed alpha, out within the next 6 months. But without the necessary funds, there's no guarantee that a workable game will be made in that time frame. Though we do have other options should that be the case. However, we believe that there are other people out there, like those in our community and ourselves, who think this would be an incredible game. And, with your generosity, this dream, 3 years in the making, can come true. So, from all of us here at Campfire Games, thank you. And we'll see you on the battlefield.